Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Absolute Falcon Cinema. I'm here with a very special guest, Mr. Locke. He's one of the production club teachers, and he's also the offensive coordinator for the football team. Hi, Mr. Locke. I'm really glad to be here with you today to talk about some sports movies.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And already enjoyed the movie that you recommended for me, so I just can't wait to get into it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So we had each other watch a couple of sports related movies, and I really wanted to get into our thoughts on it. So, without further ado, what did you think of Warrior?
Yeah. Caleb had me watch Warrior. I thought it was a really, really good movie, and it was the kind of movie that I enjoy, and because I really like dramas with a lot of emotion, even though it's funny, I guess ironic because I'm not a particularly emotional guy. I think I'm a lover, but like I don't really show a lot of emotion usually. But love those kind of movies, and it had a lot of that. And you know, I'm also a very family oriented person, and while my family doesn't look like the families in that movie, there is a lot of love there, and just a lot of I guess pain too. And maybe, again, my family probably doesn't have a whole lot of that, but there is some of that. And it's just a lot of things that you could relate. And just even like before it got super emotional, even in like the first 15 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be a tearjerker. It kind of showed a lot of like just on the surface level, the things and like the challenges that the families are facing. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot, like buckle up. And it was just such a good movie. And I appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah. In case y'all listening are unfamiliar, Warrior is a drama from the early 2010s starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. And it is a movie I recommended to Mr. Locke because as far as sports movies go, I feel like that's probably my favorite sports movie in a way that it adds like you were saying, that sort of drama to sports, but it also added a grounded story that supported the sports event that happened in like the second half. You know, one of the things that draws you into those big stories like that is like the stakes that it sets up. And without the stakes, it would just be like, oh, this is just another like sporting, like it's just another MMA fight, you know, because the movie's about MMA. But once you get into those fights, you care about the characters because the movie has taken its time to develop all of the characters and stuff. So, like you said, all the pain and stuff was shown to us in a really nuanced sort of way, where not only the actors' performances are really great, but also like the screenplay. You know, I was rewatching it a while back, and I was really blown away by how like the dialogue between the characters. I don't know if it's something you really paid attention to, but the way that they talk to each other, it's like they talk in a way that it's like you know that they've known each other for years and years and years, just because of the little flourishes they add to the dialogue in a way that they interact with one another.
Yeah, one of the scenes that comes to mind right away is very early on. But Tommy is at Patty's house, and we're kind of sensing the tension there. And he's kind of looking around the house, and then he picks up like a picture, and then the dad kind of updates him on what's going on with Brendan's life.
Yeah,
and it's just like it was classic, like as Mr. D teaches us, show me, don't tell me. So instead of saying, "Oh, we have a damaged relationship," and so do you guys, it's like, "Oh, okay, so he's estranged, and the dad knows what's at least going on with Brendan." It was just a really powerful way with just so few words of like what all those dynamics, and you get it immediately.
Yeah,
so it is really good.
That's a perfect example of like why that the movie is so brilliant between like the character dynamics and stuff, and not just the like the way that the story develops, but also just like it makes the second half of the movie all the more exciting. You know, that ends. I think the action scenes in the movie, like the MMA fights, were done really, really well. Personally, I'm not a big like MMA sort of fan, but I just saw them as more like action scenes, you know.
Right.
And the way that they did those is like they built tension very effectively. I felt that the added announcers, like the people's like commentating on the game, was another really great tension device. They don't usually do that in sports movies, do they? It's just kind of like they show the game being played, but with that added, like it made it feel more like real, like you were watching like an actual game, but with the added tension of those characters having to face each other in the end.
Yeah, it's funny because Brian Callen, who's one of the announcers, is actually a comedian that I enjoy. So like I saw him, and that kind of is also reflective of like UFC too, because they are pretty colorful and like fun and really outgoing with their announcing, and just there's so many spokespeople for the stage of that sport. And again, I'm not super into it, but I know that that's the case, and it was a good reflection of it. And like you said, it added just one more lighter but still tension, like Brendan's first fight. And that also goes to the screenplay things that you're talking about too, like when he's almost has to tap in the first round, and like there's a lot of shots that start blurry and then kind of focus in, and then it blurs out again and focuses in because he's like losing consciousness, and you're like, is he gonna hold on? But like the Brian Callen, I don't know the character's name, but he went into the fight saying like, yeah, he's a fish, he's gonna get ate up, and there's just one more level of that tension. It was really, really good.
For sure. And I'm not usually super invested in those sorts of like, is he like gonna make it? Because usually in most movies, like Warrior, it's very predictable, But I remember watching the movie for the first time and getting super emotional, especially during like the Koba fight. I was like they had me like on the edge of my seat with like the way that they built up like how fearsome his opponent is, and it's like he is just like I didn't know how he would make it out, and like when he finally won, I was like I got a little like teared up there. Like it was such a huge moment of catharsis that I was like so amazed that the movie was able to like tug at my heartstrings like that.
Absolutely. Same. Even in the first fight, not tearing up maybe, but like getting like that uncontrollable, like that initial like pulse of like emotion where you get choked up a little bit. Like I'm like, all right, this is the first fight, and I'm already like just you're so invested in the characters. And then I forgot what else I was gonna say, but it's just, like you said earlier, it did a great job of you're so invested and there's so much at stake for both of the fighters. I know what I was gonna say is that by nature of having both Tommy and Brendan in the tournament, I felt like I didn't know like any one of them could lose at any point, and the movie still has a lot that it could it made it, like you said, way more unpredictable because there was still enough to kind of finish the tournament even if one of them lost in the first round. So like I found it where it's like I didn't know what was going to happen any of those fights. So it was really good.
On the contrary, I actually like knew like, okay, these two brothers are getting in. They're going to have to fight at the end, Like I honestly thought that the predictability of the movie didn't really matter, because all the tension and all the stakes were there, and as long as you pay that off like in a satisfying way in a story like that, it'll be a worthwhile experience. And Warrior not only paid that off, but paid it off so well that it was able to get stir an emotional reaction out of me. So yeah, even I would argue, even though I would say it's more predictable than you realize, the way that they pay it off and the way that they build tension and the way that the filmmaking sort of enhances the whole story. That's the reason why I love it so much.
That's funny because that's what Danielle said, is that she's like, well, they're both going to make it and they're going to fight each other at the end of this one. And that's what she said like the first 20 minutes. So she felt like it was predictable, but I found myself like, I don't know. So it was cool. So
yeah, great movie. I really enjoy recommending that movie to people because it's like also I don't think people haven't seen that movie. I haven't heard a single person talk about that movie. You know how I discovered that movie? there was a YouTuber that I follow that recommended it, and he was like, this, and it's a little bit of a lesser known YouTuber, but he was like, this movie, I don't see any people talking about this, but it's like one of my new like favorite movies of all time, just because of how great it is. And I kind of pull from his review of that movie when I say that it's a perfect example of setup and payoff in a movie, and how you can execute that.
Yeah, most definitely. It's funny. So for what it's worth, Danielle's brother, my brother-in-law, when he saw that I was watching it, he got pretty excited, and he's like, "Oh, is that?" At first, he thought it was Fighter, and then I'm like, "No, it's Warrior." He's like, "Oh, even better!" Like, and then he kind of went upstairs and he came back down, and he's like, "Well, I could tell you a little bit about it if you want." Like I could tell like he's really excited. Like when I was like, he's about to, like. Essentially, I know this guy's in for an adventure. I almost want to be a part of it again, like, and relive this movie and just tell him about it. So, for what it's worth, he's a huge fan of the movie too.
Yeah, yep. It's underrated, but the people I have talked to who have seen it, like everybody, like loves it.
Yeah, and I can see that.
Yeah, I want to get the word out. I want more people to watch that movie. And I know we like spoiled like kind of the whole thing, but
but like you said, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It really is that good. So anybody listening, if y'all haven't seen Warrior, what are you doing? Like go check it out. Form your own opinions on it. But it's incredible. It's incredible.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. So now I want to talk about the movie that Mr. Locke recommended to me, which is Friday Night Lights, and it's a football movie that came out in the early 2000s. It's a super. It's kind of like a drama too.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different from Warrior, where you don't really know what's going to happen. You know, it's a movie that follows like a team in Texas, and what happens is these players or these high schoolers are playing, and one of them gets injured, and that changes the course of like the rest of the season. They try to bring him back, but he even gets injured that to the point that he can't play football anymore. And that was super dramatic. But I liked the movie because of its. I think it's probably the best cinematic representation of football I've ever seen, both the good and the bad. Like, it can bring out like football itself as a sport can bring out different sides of people that you might have never seen otherwise. I found that the sort of the viewpoints of the coach and how it clashed with the viewpoints of the other team and like the other, or like the referees and stuff. I thought that was really interesting and kind of really well done. In a way that it's like I see those kinds of tensions play out like in real life too. And the whole messaging of the movie that it's like there's more to a game than just winning. I mean, I think that's kind of a very typical like by the book sort of thing that sports movies do. But the way that the movie went about doing that was something that I like wholly didn't expect for sure. Mr. Locke, what do you remember thinking about the movie when you first watched it?
Well, I actually watched it in theater, so I don't remember exactly when this would have been, maybe middle school. And I just remember it. I was bawling at the end. In one particular scene, I don't know if it's worth talking about or if we're gonna spoil this whole movie too. But toward the end, I remember bawling, and like I was always very, very close with my dad growing up, and still am. And while my relationship with my dad was nothing like Billingsley's relationship with his dad, their relationship being mended at the end was something that meant a lot to me, and like their embrace after the last game. So I think like that scene was really, really good. So that was one of my favorite things. And then I think the slept on quarterback thing was something that resonated with me too, because in a different way, I think that I had like a chip on my shoulder, and maybe not all that much was expected of me as a player. And like the quarterback in that movie, he had a really, really good supporting cast. But then it was kind of thrusted into more of like a larger role. So I think those things are probably what made it so great to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the cast of characters and the way that they functioned in the story were really interesting and very complex too. Like nothing is ever nothing was ever like cut and dry. Maybe it was like sort of most of the character dynamics were somewhat predictable in a way,
Sure.
but there are some parts of the movie that I was watching it and I was like just in disbelief, like I can't believe they took it there. Let's just go ahead and spoil it. It's like a 20-year-old movie, so it's like it's kind of on you if you haven't seen it at this point. But they lost the final game, and I was like, I was so taken aback by that because I was like, the movie like successfully tricked me into thinking that it was going to be like a by the book sort of like, oh, it's a team that suffered many losses at the beginning of the season, but they were able to pull it together
Right.
and win it at the end.
Right.
But that didn't end up happening. They ended up losing, and I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, it was an ending to the movie that like fully like shocked me because it was like unpredictable. But my respect for the movie sort of shot up a little bit as that happened because it was like, oh my gosh, they really went there, and that led to a very sort of like melancholic sort of ending where you're sort of the teammates are sort of like heading home, and then you see what they do in like the future and stuff, and yeah, it's interesting. A very energetic sort of football movie, but also one that goes in a lot of different directions that I might not have expected a movie like that to pull.
Yeah, probably for a sports movie, more dramatic subplots than probably any other sports movie, especially football, I would say. And you did a good job talking about it too early on, just saying that there's so many dynamics, and it does a really good job talking about and expressing both the good and the bad of it. And it's just football is such a unique team game, and all the different personalities and roles just play a part into what makes it so great, and also so like unforgiving at the same time. And I think the game or the movie is just such a great representation of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I thank you for recommending that to me, Mr. Locke. I really enjoyed watching it for sure. So I also kind of wanted to dig into like you and I have both seen a plethora of sports movies over time, and I wanted to dig into like what makes those sorts of sports movies so good, and why they like resonate with you so much. I mean, I know you're a big part of the football team, so you recommend a lot of football movies to me and stuff like that. But,
yeah, I guess we could start with maybe what wouldn't make a sports movie very good, and like one of the things, and Mr. D laughs about this all the time, and really it could be the case of any highly skilled movie, and that is just when the action scenes aren't accurate or depicted very well. So like if the quarterback can't throw the ball well, or if like the way that the ball is caught or a tackle happens, and it's just like, okay, it kind of ruins it for you. Or if somebody's not very good at dribbling or shooting in basketball, and it's just like, I can't really invest in this movie because it's so clearly not how it would go.
Yeah.
So like one of those things for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And Friday Night Lights, it was there were a couple scenes where like players were like bleeding and stuff, and it was like, that was the only part that kind of broke my immersion. Like, is that really like what happens in football? Like they're just like getting all these cuts and stuff. Like that's a little like over dramatic. But there's actors that star in movies, and then there's athletes that play. So sports movies sort of mix them together, and if there's an actor that can't play the sport very well, then it's like, well, what are you gonna do? I think of like a sports movie that I've seen recently, Marty Supreme. It's the new Timothy Chalamet movie, and Timothy Chalamet is such a dedicated actor, and he was able to pull it off playing ping pong because he went through like extensive ping pong training before he made the movie. But there are some actors that just can't do that. They just can't play that sport. And do their own stunts like that. So yeah, that's definitely a factor into maybe not a great sports movie. I also find that we talk a lot. We talked a lot about like the predictability of it. When a sports movie becomes predictable, is
Right.
when it sort of like loses you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do something to switch up the plot or sort of surprise the audience with the way it goes, then it's sort of like, okay, then like that was kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, I guess there's really two things off that. So you mentioned with Warrior, the predictability is okay because the payoff is so good. And I think that's like probably the only way to combat that with sports movies is to just have cause your audience to be so invested in things that are going on, because win or loss, you're going to fall into one trope or the other. Like you said with like Friday Night Lights, okay, you win and it is classic case of football team takes its lumps but then wins in the end. But then even with the loss, even though it was unpredictable, it's still like, okay, it's the trope of, well, it's bigger than just wins and losses, and it's all these other things that matter. So you're going to fall into one trope or the other, and you have to make it worth it or feel good or wrap up and feel realistic in one of those other areas to kind of make up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way they do that, it's all in how well you execute the story. There's a lot of sports movies that I really love because of the story. It's less of the sport and more like what the sport represents.
Right.
I really like boxing movies like Warrior, but I'm also thinking of like Creed and Rocky and Raging Bull, movies like that. The sports sort of function as a battleground for the characters. They set up all the stakes, all of what the characters are going through, what the sport means to them, and then they get into like the ring or onto the field, and then they duke it out. I see that as an ultimate payoff to what the story was building up to. So maybe with sports movies, yeah, sure, they're sports themed, but it's all in the narrative. What you can how you can attach those characters, have the audience root for those characters, and how they're able to pay it all off in the end.
Yeah, certainly, and it's certainly how we build our program here too. Football wise, is we try to make sure that the priority is the development of the person first, and we're using, like you said, the sport as a vehicle of that. And I think when that's done well, that is really what makes sports so great to begin with. Is like the sport's going to end at some point, whether you're make it to the professional level or not. It'll come to an end, but it's like what's left behind the person, the identity of the person beyond the sport, and like how the sport has developed that is really what the movies and really the real sport to begin with is about.
Oh yeah, interesting insight into the program for sure. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Are there any other sports movies that you would recommend that I check out that like had a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Fighter a second ago, kind of maybe toward the beginning, and that's a really good one as well. Another, I think that would have been boxing, but one of the few movies that I really, really enjoyed around that, outside of Warrior now being up there. I haven't seen Creed. I know I need to check out Creed. I've really only heard good things about that one.
Yeah, Creed is a great one. I would recommend that one to you. I'd also recommend, I don't know if this counts as a sports movie or not, but Challengers. It's a tennis themed movie, but it's also like a romance as well. But I found that movie was really good. Like the soundtrack is incredible, the cinematography is great, and the script is phenomenal. It's like Zendaya, and she has a love triangle between two guys who are playing tennis.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it is a little similar to Warrior, where it's like they spend so much time invested. You spend so much time invested in that relationship that when they actually get onto the tennis court, you actually like really care about that sort of outcome. So yeah,
I think, on the football front, I guess the other ones would be. For me, I know I talked to you a second ago, but Invincible was one that was super good, but I haven't seen it in such a long time, so I want to watch it again. And then Rudy, I think, is corny and not very reflective of the real story that's actually going on, but it is still really, really good. And then I think I would say the overwhelming fan favorite for football would be, why am I forgetting it? Remember the Titans is a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah, and I've seen Remember the Titans, but it's been a minute, so I might have to revisit that for sure.
Classic for sure.
Yeah. And Creed is just, I think it's I mean, it's a legacy sequel to the original Rocky, but it's a really respectful sort of legacy sequel, you know, where it's honoring the characters that came before, but while also setting up like a new the new character of like Adonis Creed in a really inspiring and really thoughtful sort of way.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I've only heard good things.
Yeah, sweet. Well, thank you for getting on and talking to me about sports movies, Mr. Locke. It was a pleasure. And yeah, that was some absolute Falcon cinema. Be sure to check out all those sports movies because they are really good and they are really great stories in the end.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure. Take care, y'all.